All right, welcome to Seeing Eye to Eye, a virtual reality podcast. I'm Alex,
I'm Matt.
and this is our second podcast. We're getting the ball rolling on getting this stuff up and running. Uh, this is our YouTube channel right now. It's very bare bones, so the YouTube channel is Hats and Gloves VR. So make sure to check that out, and hopefully, we'll have something posted there by the time you're listening to this. Um, but yeah, this is our second podcast, and I'm hoping to make this a weekly thing. And we're going to start off by talking about some of our stories that we've had in VR, different experiences, or just topics. And then later on, we have several news stories that we're going to cover as well. So, without further ado, let's wait. No, let's go back here. Let's start off with some stories. Matt, do you want to go ahead and talk about some of your things this
Yeah,
past week?
yeah. Things this past week. I picked up the Oculus Quest 2. That's something different from, when you brought it over. You showed it to me in the previous podcast. I was comparing it a lot to the Reverb G2. Originally, I said, well, it's good, but I'll keep my Reverb G2. I like the visual quality and the audio.
Mm-hmm.
And then literally like a day or two later, I go to play my Reverb G2 and I just had all these problems. It took me like 45 minutes to like get the headset like working properly and everything. It was ridiculous. Then the controllers were losing tracking, lighting was an issue. It was a mess. And you'd brought this device over that worked perfectly on its own and we obviously I didn't run an ethernet cable to my computer or anything, so it didn't really work necessarily on my computer when we tried it, but it had the wheels turning in my head. And I talked to Megan, and she really likes Beat Saber anyways, so she was interested in trying out a headset that had a little bit better tracking, at least
Mm-hmm.
in our use case. So we went out and picked up a Quest 2, and it's been really rosy since. Really enjoying the Quest 2 a lot.
Yeah, I feel like the tracking is definitely something that has to be dead on. And this stories that you were telling about the G2's tracking was unacceptable. It's
Yeah,
one of those polishing things that a company like Meta is going to be able to brute force for better or worse. Same thing with the I feel like Valve has that, although I've never used the index. But
yeah. Supposedly that tracking's supposed to be some of the best out there because they're using the uh, outside in tracking. I guess I don't know what the correct name for it is, but the Steam VR
mhm.
Lighthouse tracking, and they're shooting IRs out into the room versus inside out tracking, which the Quest 2 does phenomenally well, or this light tracking, which is essentially an advanced version of PSVR tracking. So
I will say I've had a couple of problems with the inside out tracking with the Quest 2. There's just been a couple times where I need to redraw my Guardian in my living room. And when I went and took it to my parents, they have a large living room, but there's plenty of objects arrayed for the Quest to see. But regardless, something about their living room, I had to redraw the Guardian a couple times. And it could have been, we ended up thinking that it might have been that some windows were open so that daylight was coming in, not sunlight, but just daylight. And so those cameras have to adjust exposure. For example, if you go into pass through mode and you have a window open, you can see the cameras adjusting for exposure. So if that's happening while you're looking around, that could cause problems.
interesting. Yeah, no, I actually have to redraw my room space quite often, but I think it's because I switch from stationary to room scale a lot, so it just makes me do it. I don't know.
Yeah,
The last couple days I haven't had to, but for a while there, for like the first couple days, I was having to draw it like every time I put it on. I don't know. Maybe it just needed to
I
profile my room or something.
I'm not sure if that has to happen. For example, I think if you get up from your stationary area, sometimes it'll ask you to switch to room scale and then it will just work.
Yeah, and that's what it's been doing for the past couple days. Very, very convenient.
Okay,
But yeah, before that, I don't know why. Just had it. You know, it was after Christmas though, so maybe it was because we were moving stuff. You know, decorations are coming down. The room's starting to
for
look a little
sure.
more plain, so it's losing like there's no big tree, anymore. So it's like, where'd that go? That type
Yeah,
of thing, maybe. I'm not sure.
cool. So you got the Quest 2. You seem pretty happy with it. Do do we just want to go ahead and jump ahead real quick to the Airlink and your experience with that? We have a current events thing that we could actually just jump to real quick.
Yeah, yeah. Let's go
We
into
might
that
as well
then.
do that. So first off, what have you been doing to link your Quest 2 to the PC?
So, as far as my Quest 2 goes, um, I ran an Ethernet cable to my PC from my router. And then I tried out Airlink or the Oculus's version or Meta, I'm sorry, Meta's version of Airlink itself. So they're like native version that they have out. That was pretty much it. I mean, the process itself was super simple. Ethernet cable to the computer, and then download or yeah, download the Oculus software onto
Mm-hmm.
your computer, and that was about it. I mean, from there, there's very minimal settings you can mess with or whatnot. And the first time I tried it, um, it worked. The latency was definitely good, but the image itself was smeared almost like it was like a fancy painting or something, And it
Sounds
took
like bitrate.
some the bit rate. I think I was running like 100, and this
Mm-hmm.
is off of just Airlink, and that worked okay-ish other than the image quality. To get the image quality better, I actually had to go into my router and change some settings. And then I got it working all right. I think I made it sure that it was ran like 802.11 AC,
Mm-hmm.
80 hertz mode, and then I also downloaded an app called Insider. So it's like SSID,
Mm-hmm.
and that app allows you to look at all of your neighbors and see what channel their router is running on, so that you can switch channels to a less noisy channel. Now, I don't know if this will work in like a really busy area. Like, I know you live in an apartment complex with like hundreds of people around you, but in my area, this worked great. There was only like 6 or 7 routers in the area. It was really easy for me to find a channel that had nobody was using. So that
Yeah,
really improved things.
yeah. I actually downloaded this software as well, and I used it with my TP-Link router. But I did change the channel, which is what this guy here is doing. But in the end, after a whole bunch of troubleshooting, I found out that the router that I had was just not good. And when I bought that router months ago, it was the cheapest dual band router. Um, so what I've done is I went ahead and I bought a Wi-Fi 6 router. It's actually the one that the developer of Virtual Desktop has suggested. It's an Asus router. I'm just gonna pick it up here.
Oh, you have it. Nice.
Yeah, it's. I thought the something something. It's. I forget the name of it. Yeah. Um.
Was it
Anyway,
like, because I know they suggest, like, I don't know which one the creator suggests himself, but I know like a lot of the websites I looked at, they had like 3 different tiers, and they're like, this is the low tier one that you would need, the mid tier, or the high tier. I know like the high tier is pushing like 350, $350, something like that. Which one
I'm gonna
did
look
you
it up.
end up going
Okay,
with?
it's the Asus AX 1800.
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
So
I think I
it
looked at that one too, and I just haven't made a decision.
yeah, so it's the mid range one. It
Now,
cost $130.
are you using that exclusively for the headset?
Yes, yes and no. I'm using it for the headset. I did pair my phone to it and my other Apple stuff. Um, but that's it.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and then I have my modem going to that. I have my PC going to that Ethernet.
Interesting. Okay. So,
So,
anyways, as far as like the Airlink goes, I got it looking better after doing all these router tricks, but it just the image was just not what I wanted. Um, I figured I could get it clear, and if I didn't get it clear, it was still within the 2 week window of me buying the Quest 2. I was going to
hmm
return the Quest 2 and just keep the Reverb G2. So I decided, well, if I really want to figure this out, which I really did, because being wireless is amazing, to be
yeah.
honest. From somebody who's always had a wired headset, being wireless is awesome. So I went ahead and bought Virtual Desktop, and literally, like the moment I started using Virtual Desktop, it was just better. Like in my use case, I understand that like different hardware configurations and different routers and whatnot is all going to affect this. So your mileage may vary. You might find AirLink works better on your system. For me, virtual desktop solved all my problems. The image was clear. It has a like a vibrance mode or like a vibrance toggle that makes the colors way
hmm
better. I would argue the color was comparable to the Reverb G2, and then that's supposedly one of the best colored headsets or headsets for color. And the latency was actually lower than Airlink. Airlink, I think I was like sub 50, but like right around 50. Using virtual desktop, I was sub 40, right around 40. So it knocked off almost 10 milliseconds just by using virtual desktop. So better image quality, better latency, and a lot more options too. When with one of the
hmm
things I've noticed, it does take a significant amount of power to run a Quest 2 on your PC wireless, and it's almost comparable to the Reverb G2, but with the amount of settings that Virtual Desktop gives you, you can make pretty much any game work. You just gotta play around with it.
Yeah, I went ahead and got Virtual Desktop as well. And the thing that I really liked about it is its performance overlay, um, which shows you different metrics, including latency and where that latency is coming from. And also, you can detect where stutters are coming from. And that the performance overlay is what let me know that my problem was my router at the time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
and
that's
yeah,
been a
so
big help.
it's buying an expensive router like I did. It's nice to see those bigger bitrate numbers and the performance overlay. Makes me feel good.
Has having that router lowered your latency?
Um, I don't know if it lowered the latency. I think the latency was just around the 40s with both routers, but it's the bit rate.
Did
It's
it improve the picture quality then?
yeah.
Were you able to put
So
more or get better performance to maybe up the settings higher?
I could crank up the bit rate.
Yeah.
So that's what I saw happening that was causing stutters with the old router, and I could see the low bit rate. The performance overlay actually highlights problem numbers in yellow, so you don't even need to know
Yeah.
what is good numbers, what is bad numbers, because it'll just highlight the problems in yellow. You don't have to be an expert on this stuff.
Yeah, no, the reason why I'm asking is because the other thing I experimented with that Wi-Fi card that you had up earlier, that TP-Link Wi-Fi card, I
Yeah.
that's the Wi-Fi card that's in my computer, so it's a Wi-Fi 6 card. Even though I think it was just because it was like $60 is why I bought it or something like that. It was like not that expensive. It's Wi-Fi 6 capable.
hmm
There is a way you can run your Quest 2 off a mobile hotspot on your computer. It's not recommended by the guy that created Virtual Desktop, and I'm pretty sure Oculus probably doesn't recommend doing it either. But it allowed me to run Half-Life Alyx at higher settings, so I went from medium settings to high settings and a higher bit rate, and I went from 866 megabytes per second at the top of Virtual Desktop, like your max,
Yeah.
to 1200. So it was all working better. The problem was there was intermittent cutting out of the signal essentially. So like the game would stutter really hard every like 5 minutes or so. I read up a bit on the issue, and I think it has something to do with Windows. Every time it has like a mobile hotspot, it's like searching for a Wi-Fi connection or something like that, or refreshing its Wi-Fi
Okay.
connections. and I tried to fix it, and I failed miserably.
Hmm.
And I kind of gave up on it because while it was better, I think a router would be the easier route to go versus trying to brute force this to work. And to be honest, even though it was better, my Wi-Fi setup works perfectly well, so I don't really need that, I guess. Not right now, not until I decide that I'm gonna drop the money for a new router.
It kind of makes sense because peer to peer. This is coming from a Nintendo fan perspective, but peer to peer stuff can be really sketchy. For example, if you're playing Animal Crossing with somebody and you're connecting the two consoles peer to peer, it works. But if anything happens, if you walk away for a second, it's game over.
Yeah.
So it's always, you know, in Animal Crossing, you just always connect to the internet, and that just smooths everything out for the most part.
Yeah, other than
Um,
that, I mean, Quest 2's been amazing.
nice. Well, let me look at my notes here. I'm gonna close these windows as we go.
You purchased a link cable, didn't you?
Yes, yeah, I
So was that
purchased a link cable.
was that the official Oculus link cable?
No, it was an aftermarket link cable on Amazon.
How'd
That
that work for
was
you?
$20. It worked fine. I'm just gonna click back to here. It worked fine on my computer, but on my dad's gaming computer, it didn't work. But I'm assuming that's because his computer has some weird things going on with the motherboard. And one of the videos I watched about using the link cable said that you might just need to try out different USB ports on your motherboard, even if even if it's a 3.0 USB port, you might still need to just test out different ones. Um, so for his computer, just none of them worked.
Interesting. So how do you feel about link cable versus virtual desktop versus AirLink?
Um, well, even with my okay, now that I have the nice router, I can't tell the difference. And if there is less latency, then I just haven't noticed it, and I haven't spotted it in the performance overlay yet. Oh, okay. So here's something good to note of. I put the link cable in the Quest, and I kind of tethered it around the back. Sorry, my mic is moving by itself. Because I didn't want the cord to get jostled,
Yeah,
or to step on the cord and then tear the USB C connection. So I made sure to use like a Velcro strap. But even with doing that, there was some times when I think I took the headset off and I was just handling it and it disconnected. And it's not supposed to do that. That was that was one of the nice things about the link cable is you could take the headset off, put it down on the couch, walk away and do something, and then come back and it would just boom pop you right back in. I don't know. I don't know if that works so well with the AirLink,
it does
but
work with virtual desktop.
yes.
I've been playing like Half-Life Alex, and I'll take the headset off and go like tend to my daughter or something like that, right? Come back like 20, 30 minutes later. My battery is significantly lower on my Quest, but I put it back on and I'm literally right where I left off on Half-Life Alex. So
Yeah.
the one thing I noticed, so I don't have like even a recommended link cable. I just grabbed a random USB A to USB C cable that I use to play like to plug in my controllers to my computer.
Yeah.
And the one thing I noticed was the latency in VTOL felt better to me, but it could have been just like I don't know if it was that much better, you know. The performance felt better. I was getting better. My frame rates were remaining higher. I wasn't dipping as much, but the actual visuals, and I don't know if it's because I'm just missing all the fancy virtual desktop settings like the color correction and the sharpening and all that. but the actual visuals were not better for me, even though I was able to go all the way up to like 300 some megabits per second. It just wasn't. They weren't better. So I don't know. A virtual desktop is a work of magic.
Yeah, yeah, they're doing some color correction, and it really hits the spot. I think the problem that's happening with what you're noticing is that, unfortunately, um, even though PC Link with the link cable is great, it's still encoding and compressing every frame of the video, um, if I understand it correctly. And I'm not an expert on this stuff, but correct me if I'm wrong, but something like the HP Reverb, that acts more as a monitor, right? It's like very
Yeah.
good. It's a display.
Yeah,
But
so when you're sending it with the like a link cable, it is compressing and then uncompressing when it hits the headset. With the reverb or anything, usually any PCVR headset, that you're usually using that I can't remember what that type of cable's called, but it's similar to plugging in like a monitor,
a display port,
DisplayPort cable, yeah. And so that is a complete non-compressed image going directly to the headset.
right? And so that's why the visuals don't look so good, and that's why there's a problem with bitrate. And what else was I going to say? Latency. Oh, that's also why I think it's a little bit more taxing on your PC to get VR experiences to the Quest,
Yeah.
because your PC is now responsible for compressing and encoding 90 frames per second gameplay continuously per eye. So that's
Yeah,
a
it's one of the
lot.
reasons why I really want to try it out on my wife's computer because I got the 2080 Super, she's got 3070. From what
Mm-hmm.
I've looked at performance wise, they're pretty similar with the 3070 pulling ahead just slightly. But from what I've read, the 30 series cards are just supposed to be better at encoding and decoding and stuff like that. So I'm curious to try it out. I haven't done it yet.
Nice. But yeah, that's my big takeaway to answer your questions there, is that the new router is capable of doing high bit rate. And the night that I got the router, it took me a while to set it up, because this is kind of a tangent, but the Asus app, um, for the setup of the router, it asks for your location, and I was like, no. I just answered no, because it's a router. It's a router. And so I'm continuing through the setup process. Everything's working fine. My phone app is connecting to the router, and I'm looking at it. Or wait, no, it didn't quite get that far. The internet light on the router wouldn't turn on. And so for an hour, I tried different things. I tried Googling it, and eventually I found out you have to tell Asus what your location is. And when they ask you about it, they say, we need your location so that we're making sure that we connect to your router. But that's not true, because the router doesn't have a GPS chip in it, right?
I
So,
don't think so.
I mean, unless I'm missing something, it kind of seems like, is it Asus or Acer? Asus. Kind of seems like Asus just kind of wants to know where you're located. And then the the internet light on your router won't activate unless you give them your location.
It would kind of make sense, I guess, if you were using it traditionally, how you use a router instead of, are you, so you are kind of using it traditionally. You're passing through internet and everything through it, right?
Yeah, it would make sense if it was a modem, because a modem needs to ping its closest server, um, right? And so location would be useful. That'd be a useful piece of information for it
Hmm.
to do its job. But a router, I mean, you could have a router like on the space station, and it could do its job.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
making a network. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's just a anecdotal thing. Anyway, after I set up the router, I was trying out Half-Life Alex, and everything was good, but I remembered that you told me to turn up the bitrate all the way in virtual desktop. Like set the bitrate to auto in
Mhm.
the um, desktop software, and then in the headset software, crank up the bitrate, and it will do its job. Well, after a while, I realized that's what I needed to do, and that was like right before I had to go to bed. So I fixed the bitrate problem. Half-Life Alex looked great. So it's
Yeah,
been smooth sailing ever since.
they've got some really good automatic bitrate adjustment going on there because I know it seems to just, it knows what bitrate it's going to run the best at, and everything just smooth sailing after that.
Yep. Shout out to Virtual Desktop. It is a paid app. I believe it's 20
19, yeah,
dollars.
1999.
It does go on sale. I picked it up on sale. I forget for how much,
It
but
literally went on sale like 2 days after I bought it, and I thought like, should I return it and then like, buy it again? And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna forget about it. This app works so good. I want this guy to have my money. Like
yeah.
he made some awesome software, so it was only a few dollars off, anyways. Those Oculus sales, right?
Yep. Okay, I'm gonna uh, kind of go through one of my VR experiences. Um, so I got this fishing game
Of course you
called
did.
Real VR Fishing, and I heard about this game through Let's Talk Oculus, which is my favorite VR podcast. Shout out to Dan and Samson over at Let's Talk Oculus. But they were talking about real VR fishing, and it got brought up when they were talking about games that have a good community or a good social. Uh, People are nice on the app, basically. But I also got it because apparently it's a good fishing game, and I I was visiting my dad, and I know he likes to fish, so we were both interested in this. And so I picked it up. Turns out it is a really good fishing game, and I decided to play some multiplayer. Um, I hopped into a couple of rooms. One room, they were kind of talking about upgrading their pontoon boats and stuff like that. Another room that I popped into was full of squeakers. So at that point, I decided to host a room and then just fish by myself because some of these rooms had like advanced saltwater fish, and I wasn't even able to like I didn't have the right lures yet. So I hosted a room, and I'm fishing in areas that are still my level, and people pop in and they pop out, they pop in. I look over because you're on the shore, and so you just look over at them, and then you kind of wave to them, and then they wave to you, or they say hi, or they don't. And different people are popping in, and eventually this one guy pops in. And he's like, "Hey, what's up, man?" And I was like, "Hey, how's it going?" And he just starts talking to me, and he's like, "Yeah, I really like fishing, and I just like to hop on multiplayer and chit chat with people. Sometimes people don't want to talk, and that's cool. But other times I have great conversations." So him and I just get to talking. Uh, he ends up giving me some tips about the game, and his name is Smokey Bear 420. So shout out to Smokey
Nice.
Bear out there on VR fishing. Um, he's been playing a lot of games actually. I'm gonna have to hit him up. Anyway, he explained to me that you can up the difficulty in the game to expert, which removes the fish radar, and it removes the little symbols that pop up as you're reeling in to help you not break the line. Okay, I'm gonna switch. Here we go. If you up the difficulty, it removes those aids, but it ups the XP and the currency that you get. So I tried it out, and it made the game way more interesting. So now instead of the game being with radar fish and all these little visual aids, now it's like no HUD mode in Skyrim, or it's like hardcore mode on Call of Duty. But it's way more interesting now. So now I'm actually paying attention to the haptics in the controller and the real sound that happens from the game, and I'm paying close attention to the haptics and the sound, and I'm also paying attention to how the rod is bending because again, you don't want to break the line. So the game is now way more interesting. And yeah, he told me I should consider buying the DLC because if you buy the DLC, then uh, half the time you're playing multiplayer, you'll be playing multiplayer with people who have also bought the DLC, and so it helps weed out people who are just goofing around, and then you get to talk to more cool people. So I ended up telling him that uh, I was making a VR podcast, and he was like, "Really? What's it called?" And I said, "Well, it's not published yet." He's like, "Well, add me as an Oculus friend, and then hit me up when you've put something out." And I was like, "All right, that's what I'll do." So it's a pretty crazy story.
That's funny. I've
Um,
heard I've heard good things about this game. I never and I didn't really look into it much because I was like, fishing simulator, okay. I had no clue that it was like a social VR experience. No clue at all.
yes,
I thought it was just like you're sitting on a boat somewhere fishing. That's
yeah,
it.
yeah, and people just start talking about either the game or about life, and it has a reputation for people being nice. Of course, that's not always going to be the case, but
It kind of makes sense. I mean, you have this nice like what I'm assuming is relaxing game until you're trying to catch like some epic fish or something. Maybe that's a little stressful. I don't know, but um, and the people that are going to be playing this game are probably more laid back, relaxed people. So that makes a lot of sense. That's really
yeah,
interesting.
it's another very interesting and cool story from VR that I've been telling people about because people are like VR. That's well, what is that? That's you don't want to go into VR. And I'm
Yeah, a
like,
lot of people think you're shutting yourself off from everyone.
yeah, but it's weird because these are people that will talk about how they're unhappy with what they see on Twitter. Um, I don't know. VR is it's a place where when you're near strangers, you actually look at them, you actually wave at them, and you actually say hi to them. For now, right? This might just be a golden era of VR. It might just be that the well is not poisoned, but in VR you just start up conversations with strangers, which you do that in real life too, but not as much. Um, you know, it's just more common in
Yeah, no,
VR.
it's a little easier to start up a conversation with a stranger too when you're like sitting on your couch or standing in your living room versus striking a random conversation with somebody in line at Walmart or something. Like most
Yeah.
people don't do that.
Well, that's one thing that I thought about is when you look over next to somebody who's fishing with you, both of you are there because you want to be there. When you're at the line at the grocery store and you see somebody, they might not want to be there at all, and they might not be in a good mood. So
Yeah.
it does make sense.
Hmm.
Okay,
Very interesting.
let's move on to this. Did you have what did you have here for side quest?
For SideQuest, so I was just wanting to point out how simple this makes a lot of things, I guess, for trying out experiences because SideQuest. So I didn't realize how awesome this app is until I realized that I can go on SideQuest on my phone,
Mm-hmm.
just like you do the Oculus App Store. Scroll through it, find games I'm
Mm-hmm.
interested in, and set them up to download, just like I would something through the Oculus App Store. It's
Yes.
fantastic. It's amazing. And this, like, I'm really big into indie games and indie developers and stuff. It's one of the reasons why I'm like really big into VR too, because like you can just find a lot more of them there, I guess, or maybe not a lot more, but there is a lot of indie developers in the VR space right now. And this is a really good way to either go demo a game maybe you're thinking about buying or just seeing what's up and coming or like in the instance of like Doom 3 Quest just getting like essentially what's a free game. I mean, you'd have to own Doom 3 on your computer to be able to do
Mm-hmm.
it, but I mean, I own Doom 3. I think Quake 2 is on there as well. There's quite a few of them that they've ported over. Half-Life 1, you can play through that as well. And it's all on SideQuest. The
Really?
SideQuest, yeah. Well, I went through SideQuest the other night and I just started scrolling through. I added, I don't know, like maybe 10, 15 games to my library on my Quest. Next time I booted it up, I just let it download for a little bit. But yeah, if you own the Half-Life collection or any type of, as long as you own Half-Life 1 on your PC, you
You
can play
know,
through this. And
see, I
supposedly this is the best way to do it. I tried it on PC VR before and it was kind of a nightmare. And this is all set up and ready to go. You just gotta, follow his install guide.
Half-Life. I actually don't own Half-Life 1. I own Black Mesa.
I
Yeah.
feel like you shouldn't own a computer if you don't own Half-Life 1.
But Black Mesa though.
Yeah, I agree
So,
with you there. You can play
okay.
through Black Mesa in VR as well. I've done that. There's a program called Vorpex that lets you play
Mhm.
any flat screen game in VR, and the games that it works well with, you get actual 3D. You don't get motion controls, so you still have to use like a mouse and keyboard or a gamepad. And I actually played through Black Mesa almost in its entirety. There was like one part that I chose not to do in VR. I can't even
Oh,
remember what
this
it
looks
was because
so
it's like a
cool.
year ago. But I played with mouse and keyboard on the Rift S when I had that.
S- But okay. But this Lambda 1 VR, does it have motion controls?
Yes, and it's
Oh, I
native.
got to get this.
It's native, so you don't even need to
Yeah.
run your PC.
Oh, it's so charming. The old graphics are so charming.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I'm sure you can pick up Half-Life 1 for like a couple dollars, So
Yeah. Well,
there, they're showing motion controls right there.
I thought I purchased the collection um when it was on sale, but I must have um like unclicked Half-Life 1 cuz I had Black Mesa and so I still don't have it. That's awesome.
Dang.
So, I wanted to point this out. This looks similar on the phone. And so you just navigate, if you want to browse, you navigate to App Lab. And from here, all this stuff can be ran native on the Quest
Yeah, and
with
it'll
the
take you
developers.
directly, like you click on one of those from the App Lab, it'll take you directly to the link on the Oculus store where you can get it. So
Yeah, I wonder if I could find a free one.
there is
This
Ancient
one.
Dungeons beta. That's a free one. I haven't tried this one yet. There's another one. Oh shoot, I can't even remember what it's called right now, but it's like a Mario Kart style game in VR. Um, Pretty sweet. It's on SideQuest here somewhere, and I can't think of what it's called right now because there's like two of them. One of them's on the App Store, and the other one is on SideQuest or
Um,
through App Lab.
I got Death Race VR in a bundle,
How's
which is
that?
kind of it's okay. It's kind of I don't know. I played it real quick. I guess I don't have an opinion on it yet. But yeah, there's SideQuest. Okay. Moving on, we have a current events article here. Meta's Oculus was the US's most downloaded app on Christmas. So this has been making its rounds on YouTube and different articles.
Wait,
Um,
what? Okay, so when I first saw this headset, or this headset, when I first saw these notes that you had written down, for some reason my mind turned it to Oculus's headset was the most sold headset on Christmas. The most downloaded app on Christmas? That's
yeah,
gotta mean
so
something, because that's a big deal, right? Like you're competing with not just VR apps, you're competing with just phone apps in general, right?
yeah, you're competing with TikTok, Fortnite, Genshin Impact.
That's insane.
This is crazy. Is that are we reading that right? Meta's Oculus was the US's most downloaded app on Christmas. Um, Downloads of the app to support Oculus, Meta's virtual reality brand, rose to the top of the mobile app store charts after Christmas, suggesting its headsets were popular gifts this year. Before this week, Oculus was a top 10 iOS app in only one country, the US. but by December 26th became by December 26th became a top 5 app in 14 different countries and the number 1 app in the US according to Justin Patterson, an equity research analyst at KeyBank Capital Markets. The app topped the Google Play Store on Android devices as well. So yes, we are reading that right. Uh,
That's amazing.
look, I mean, this graph right here is kind of one of the inspirations for uh, doing this channel or this podcast. Is that I feel like we really are approaching some sort of hockey stick graph with VR. Uh, I could be wrong, but it really kind of feels like that.
Well, I mean, they pulled
Um,
me in right around Christmas, so I add to those numbers.
yeah, the Oculus app is required when you get the headset,
Hmm.
but there's almost I don't know. I guess if you have a Rift, you would maybe want the app, but there's almost no reason to get the phone app if you don't have a Quest 2. So
I
yes, this
never I've owned the CV1 and the Rift S, and I never once thought to download the Oculus app on my phone. I don't know. I'm sure it was around like a year or two ago because they had the Quest 1.
well, you have
Um,
that device is plugged into your PC,
yeah,
so you could just
never even thought about it.
you could use the PC software. But with the Quest, when you start the Quest up for the first time, it asks you, "Hey, get the app." And I think you have to have the app. So yeah,
Yeah.
this news story suggests that Quest sales are really booming. Um,
Well, Meta really did got the ball rolling because apparently a couple months ago there was actually a shortage of Quest 2 headsets and they were having trouble keeping stock. And then they picked the stock back up, and apparently, I mean, think about it right now with hardware the way it is and how hard it is to get things, PS5s, Xboxes, graphics cards, anything like that. It's kind of hard to get right now, and the Quest 2 is just openly available. I mean, I just walked into a Target and they had like 6 or 7 of them on the shelf, you know? So,
yeah,
and not to mention, they made the 64 gigabyte version basically obsolete by selling the 128 gigabyte version at that same price. I don't know if they lowered the price of the 64 if they just stopped making it at that point, but yeah, I mean, they did everything right and right before the holidays, so
I think it what it's probably going to come down to is this the XR chip, the XR2 Snapdragon processor. It could be many things. Like for example, it could be that there's a shortage on lenses, but it's probably this is probably dependent on um, how well they can continue to manufacture these XR2 chips because this past year there was a lot of rumors for a Nintendo Switch Pro, which didn't end up happening. And this holiday season, the Switch just dominated, um, and that's because they've developed a really good way to make that Tegra chip that's in the Switch, and they have that down to a science. Whereas the PS5 and the Xbox One, it's a little bit newer. Is this making sense to
yeah.
you?
Yeah, no, I agree. And well, not just that, but I mean like PS5s and Xboxes are running off of what's essentially if I'm right about this, it's AMD hardware. So you're competing with the consumer market that's trying to get a hold of PCs and anyone else trying to get a hold of PCs, corporate businesses trying to get a hold of PCs, you know.
Yeah,
Whereas something like the Quest 2 or the Switch, where they compete against maybe cell phone manufacturers, and there's like a bajillion cell phones out there, and they're all using different chips and everything. So
yeah.
it's probably a little easier. Not to mention, it's just a smaller chip. Like it's probably easier to make it. Maybe I don't know about that one,
Yes, smaller is definitely better. Again, I'm not an expert on this stuff, but
but
I believe that one of the reasons why smaller is better is because you can fit more chips on a wafer.
yeah, yeah, that makes
Like,
sense.
like I know what a wafer is, but I
I mean,
digress.
I've learned a little bit about graphics card manufacturing, so I would agree with that because I know
Yeah,
like they essentially take like Nvidia will take like leftover wafer or whatnot and turn it into like their
yeah.
crappier cards, I guess, like the 1650 Ti or whatever when that came out. No offense to anybody who has one of those, but it's just their lower
Oh
end
yeah.
stuff.
Wait, which card was that again?
It's like the 1660 Ti or 1650 Ti. I don't know. They have so many. They have a
Yeah.
ridiculous number of cards. It's hard to keep up. AMD
Yeah,
keeps it a
it's
little similar, but I personally prefer Nvidia right now. But
but I was gonna say me talking about wafers is kind of like me talking about rocket science,
yeah.
which I'm not a rocket scientist. But you know what? There is a game for non-rocket scientists called Kerbal. You ever heard of that game?
Yeah, Kerbal Space Program.
Yeah.
Yeah, VR mod for it or something?
No, but I wanted to segue to one of our other tabs here, and it's VTOL, which
Ooh,
I kind of feel
yes.
like VTOL is the Kerbal of flight sims, and it just happens to be a VR exclusive software.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think about that, but
Um, I
what do you
kind
have
of
to say about
agree.
VTOL?
Oh, VTOL. So I have had my eye on VTOL for like literally years. It's been like you see, the release date was like August 2017. And I've had my eye on it, and for some reason I've just never picked it up, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
not huge into flight games, especially realistic flight games. I'm more into space flight games like Elite Dangerous, Star Citizen, those types of things. So military planes or jets, whatnot, I've never really been into. But with the recent release of like Battlefield 2042 and stuff, I've been flying a lot more jets and helicopters in that game. And I saw this go on sale. I think it was only like 10 or 20% off. So it was like 24 bucks or something like that. I was like, you know what? Whatever. I'm going to pull the trigger. Um, this game is absolutely fantastic. It's extremely highly detailed. The graphics are kind of like cartoony. That doesn't bother me one bit at all. The graphics like that have never bothered me.
Right.
But the detail that they put into the cockpit and you manipulating the buttons with your hands and stuff, it's absolutely amazing. I wish that Elite Dangerous had something like this, and I know there's mods that can do it, but they don't work as well as this does. I mean, you have to do everything from starting your engine, turning on like the main battery, and then slowly rolling forward to the tarmac, and then lifting off. Closing your cockpit. There's a little MP3 player that you can like hit the play button on, and they have like pre like destined like almost like 80s style music tracks that you can listen to, like Top Gun style
Top Gun
tracks.
stuff. That's
Yeah, I
awesome.
mean, it's so fantastic. It's so detailed and so immersive. It's really hard though, obviously, because like they went into all this detail of, flying these things exactly how they would be flown, but it's pulled off so well that it made me just every mistake I made, it made me just want to keep trying again. And you make a lot of mistakes, especially in the beginning. I wrecked so many planes.
I might have to pick this up. It's on sale right now. It's on sale for 20% off for
Yeah.
$24
Yep, there you
US.
go.
I had the chance to play this recently. I was visiting my dad, and so I ended up selling him on a Quest. Okay, so he bought a Quest, and
Ooh.
he's always liked flight simulators, and he had his eye on this game, and so he went ahead and purchased it on Steam, and then we were able to get the Quest to link to the PC through his router very well. So now he's able to play VTOL, and so I played a little bit of it, and yeah, it was very charming. The tutorial was adequate. I don't know if it's voiced.
I don't
I'm
think it was voiced. I
I
think
don't
it
think
was
it's
all you had to read
voiced,
everything.
but yeah, you had to read everything, but it wasn't like a lot, right? It's not like we're not talking like Monster Hunter Rise here, where you have to read like 4 paragraphs every 30 seconds.
No,
No,
and
it's
it made sure that you were doing actions. So it would be like, all right, now flip the switch for your battery. And it would kind
yeah.
of like, point you towards where that was or whatnot. And then you would be doing that action. So it's not giving you a paragraph to just read. You're actually interacting the entire time with the tutorial. So,
Yes, so it's the tutorial is actually fun to go through, and this is something that you're probably gonna hear me talk about a lot is tutorials in VR, because they're good, they're bad, and sometimes they're non-existent. Um, Thrill of the Fight is basically doesn't have a tutorial at all. Um, it's a good game, but and how hard can it be? Just punch. It's boxing.
No, I don't think this game would be playable without a tutorial. It'd be really hard because, like,
Yeah.
I mean, you're literally sitting in like a jet, and it has. I've never sat in any of these jets. Obviously, I'm not like a super big jet enthusiast, but it has what I would imagine is most or 90% of like all the controls that you would have in a jet. It even has the ability to hook up a rudder set. So if you have like a HOTAS with the
Mm-hmm.
rudders, like if you're a big flight sim guy, you're able to connect your rudders to this and actually use those.
Oh,
That,
the foot
y-
pedals.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So that would be really immersive. Actually, I could try that maybe
With
with my
your
driving.
racing wheel.
Yeah. Huh. I never thought about that. I might have to try
Something
that
tells
sometime.
me that you can do that.
Yeah.
However, I will say I'm pretty sure that rudders, when you press them, they stay, and they also one pushes the other, right?
Yeah, yeah, I think one pushes the other. I'm not
So
sure if they stay or not, but I know, or I'm pretty sure at least that one pushes
like
the
they
other.
don't spring back when you lift your foot; they stay in place.
I've never flown anything,
I actually have
never
flown
been
a
the
plane before.
really
Yeah,
in real life.
yeah, yeah.
What?
I'll tell it about to you off air
Okay.
because it involves somebody that we know. But yeah, I've
Okay.
flown a plane.
Interesting.
It's easy.
So see, now you could fly VTOL VR. You just skip the tutorial and just go straight to flying a fighter jet.
If it was like a puddle hopper or a smaller plane,
Yeah.
I could probably suss it out.
See, that's what I want to see Microsoft Flight Simulator. Either somebody add this, like create a mod for it or something, but add in the motion controls. It would be
Yeah,
fantastic.
I don't think it's gonna happen, dude. I
Yeah.
don't think Microsoft is interested in VR, and that's their game.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I mean,
This
they
game
do
looks really
support
good.
Windows mixed reality, and we'll see. Maybe with the upcoming launch someday of the PSVR 2, maybe it'll push Microsoft to try to do more. But
Get some Ace
yeah, no,
Combat.
this game, as you can see, overwhelmingly positive reviews. It's fantastic.
Okay,
Um,
so what did you think about? So in the game, you don't have to have a HOTAS,
yeah,
but you're not using an Xbox controller. You're
no,
using your VR stuff. So in the game, what you do is you put your hand where the flight stick is, and then you either press or hold the grip button, and then you just move your Oculus Touch controller around, and then the same for the throttle. So what were your thoughts on that? Were you satisfied with how that worked?
So I've used an actual HOTAS before. Once again, this was for Star Citizen and Elite Dangerous. It wasn't for any, you know, atmospheric military flight simulators or any flight simulators that involve you being on Earth. Um, and I've also played Elite Dangerous with the mod that has motion support. So I was expecting something similar to that, and I thought that worked decently.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this works way better than the Elite Dangerous mod. And honestly, while while you don't have the stability of having like an actual HOTAS, right, that you're grabbing in real life,
Yeah.
if you put your arms, on the arms of your chairs, your gaming chairs or whatnot, where you have the arms, and you use those to keep your arms steady, I mean, it's worth not having the HOTAS because of all the interactions you get within the cockpit and just how immersive and
That's
real
a
that
good
makes it
point.
feel versus pressing like on the HOTAS, to raise landing gear or something, I would have like a combination of buttons that I'd press where I'd like hold down like the hat button while pressing like another button on my HOTAS and that would like raise my landing gear or something.
And
And
technically, you're
this,
blind to your
yeah,
HOTAS because you have a
yeah,
headset on.
exactly. And that made things more difficult too. And this, you just reach over and push up the landing gear lever and your landing gear goes up. It's worth it. It's absolutely amazing. I will say what the one thing you said is like you can tap the grip button, and it holds on to the stick versus holding the grip button.
Yeah.
In moments of panic, like when I had several rockets flying towards my my jet, my hand was locked to the HOTAS, I would forget and I would go to like press some buttons in the cockpit and I would just flip the plane over in the air and stuff. So
Yeah,
I ended
yeah,
up
we did
just
that too.
preferring the holding method myself. But oh, another thing about this game, really quick. So the tutorial is basically like the only content that comes with the game. Everything else is made by the community in the Steam VR workshop. Maybe the developers have posted stuff there too. I haven't looked enough to see. Um, but there's like hundreds of missions and they all have like a voting system. It
Oh, I
shows it
think I
right
see it
there.
here.
Yeah, yeah, right there. And there's all like a voting system for all these missions as well. So I literally went into the
Oh,
Steam
that's
Workshop browser,
awesome.
which you can browse right from the game,
Uh-huh.
set it to the highest votes, and then click download right there. Like, a minute later, the mission was downloaded, and I went, click play, and I never even left the headset, never left the game, and I was able to download missions and play them.
Is this multiplayer?
I do not know. Not sure if it is. It would be an amazing experience, I'm sure.
Huh. I think I'm gonna have to pick up this game. This is just so. It's stuff like this that I really like. This is, for the same reasons that I'm a huge Nintendo fan, where graphics and impressive, mind-blowing visuals are not the first priority. The first priority is gameplay, ease of use, with the right amount of challenge, and
Yeah,
that's what this is.
exactly.
Okay. Well, I might have to pick that up after the show. Okay. Moving on to our next story. bHaptics announces TactGlove 299 haptic VR gloves for Quest 2 and more. Gloves. So the YouTube channel that I'm starting along with this podcast is Hats and Gloves VR. Hats because hat is just kind of like a pet name for VR goggles, and then gloves because I kind of think that we're going to be wearing a lot of gloves in the future for a while.
So what's interesting about this to me is I've seen several renditions, quite a few renditions actually, of VR gloves, and they usually look really weird, robotic. These look, or like they have like a skeletal thing almost going over your
Yeah.
hand or something. Like they look bulky and not good. These look like gloves. Like what is going on here? How are they doing this?
Well, if this is yeah, okay, so it's just these guys, just these. So the to answer your question, the reason why it doesn't look like that spider thing or that Death Stranding suit that lady has in Death Stranding is because the only points of haptics are in the fingertips and maybe a couple others. But further on in the trailer here, you can see them use it in action, and it gives the impression that it's really just the five fingertips,
Okay. So you
which
wouldn't be
is
able to play, you wouldn't be able to just pick these up and play just about any game. You would need to have games that are made to work with these gloves.
okay. Yeah, so these two games are pretty good examples because they have hand tracking, and Hand Physics Lab is kind of just it's a lot of playing with different toys and manipulating stuff with your hands. And then Unplugged is, have you heard about Unplugged? It is a
This
Guitar Hero style game, but it's hand tracking, and the hand tracking is actually pretty good.
would have to be for you to be able to play guitar. Huh.
Yeah.
How have you played it?
No, but I've heard the guys over at Let's Talk Oculus talk about it, and
Have
they say that
you
they were surprised at how good the hand tracking worked
have
with
you done
Unplugged.
have you done anything hand tracking yet?
No, no, just the normal Oculus environment menu selecting.
How'd that work? I haven't tried it at all. That's why I'm asking. I'm really curious.
It worked okay. There was another game. What was it? Uh, I forget, but there was another game that had hand tracking that I saw briefly before I picked the controllers back up. It was surprisingly good. Of course, there was certain angles that you would move your hands and it would kind of desync a little bit because it can't see the cameras can only see what they can see.
Yeah.
So, but it's surprisingly good. The response time is surprisingly good. So,
I like how they're showing they show the bHaptic gloves and they're showing the person wearing the suit at the same time. These guys make like the immersive suit that like can give you like
yeah.
I don't know what it is, but it makes you feel things, I guess.
Yeah, I've heard good things about the suit. It's expensive though.
Yeah, that's
I did
why.
know that. I don't know how expensive though, but these things are the price of a Quest.
Yeah.
So that's not too much. Um, but if it really is just your fingertips, I don't know. Now, if the if the Quest gets like a killer piano app, you know, or a killer app that benefits from this, then these might take off. But I think that these are just another stepping stone to the
Yeah.
real gloves, the real X suit from Ready Player One that is surely coming.
We need the omnidirectional treadmills too. That that's
Yeah,
gonna make a really big difference, I think. Because like a lot of these treadmills you see, they're all like essentially like you're sliding. You're not really
yeah.
walking. I want to see like actual omnidirectional treadmills like the ones in Ready Player One and whatnot.
Yes, I would love that. Um, yeah, sliding around is good, but that can't be right. I mean, technically, I think running on a treadmill is not exactly the way to run because it can be kind of hard on, I think, your ankles. Um, don't quote me on that, but
So we just need to put on our headsets and go out to the middle of a field and just run around.
yeah, I don't think that idea is gonna sell though. I think people would much rather just stay on a little treadmill.
Yeah.
All right, let's close this and move on to VR cover.
Oh
What
yeah.
do you think about this?
So I don't have this yet. I was just pointing out what I picked up basically for my Quest 2, So I went with the virtual reality Oasis. One, because a bunch of their stuff was sold out, but two, um, ever since like I always so I don't want to talk bad about the guy, I think it's Mike from Virtual Reality
Yep.
Oasis, but I always kind of thought like he really favors like Oculus and Facebook and
Yeah.
Meta stuff, and me being primarily just PC VR headsets, I was not super interested in a lot of the stuff he showed,
Mm-hmm.
or a lot of his YouTube stuff until I got my Quest 2, and then now I'm like, oh my god, the Quest 2, like there's a reason why it's this popular. And so I've been watching his channel a lot lately, and so I saw this, and I was like, well, that's a pretty sick color, and it's the VR cover headset. So I went ahead and ordered this one. Now this is the same kind you have, just essentially like a
Yes.
different color, right?
Yeah. So I got mine from watching his video. Shout out to VR Oasis. He does really good stuff. But yeah, it's definitely slanted towards Quest, which my 2 cents is, can you blame him? Those Quest 2 videos probably perform way better than, a Rift S video,
I'm just looking
HP
purely from a
Reverb.
user standpoint. I now that I own a Quest 2, I can't blame him because I'm like, yep, this is for like 99% of the people, the Quest 2 is probably the best option that's out there right now, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah, so
even
I got that.
on that point, real quick, even though I own a gaming PC, um, I always tend to shop for native Quest games first, even though I know that there's higher fidelity if I were to purchase it for the PC. Just
Unfortunately, with me, I have this library of VR games, so it's like, oh man, do I buy the game a second time to run it natively? Or do I just run it
yeah,
through virtual desktop? And so far, virtual desktop hasn't let me down. Even in Beat Saber, playing songs on Expert. Now, I'm not amazing at Beat Saber. I'm not playing songs on like Expert Plus or anything. But for me, Expert Beat Saber with virtual desktop works perfectly fine. So it's like I don't see the reason yet to buy things on native. I have a feeling that I'm probably gonna run into a game or two someday where I'm like, I'm gonna buy this a second time.
Yeah, I recently figured out how to download your cross-buy games on Oculus. So for the longest time, for weeks now, I would just check my library on the PC Oculus software, and nothing was popping up. Um, and so I just thought, oh, I guess the games I've bought on Quest are not cross-buy. Turns out, no, that's not the case. To get the cross-buy functionality, you have to navigate to the Rift store on either the app or the PC software, and then navigate to the game that you already own. Click on it like you're going to buy it. The price will be crossed out like it's discounted, and it'll just say get. And you click on it, and then it's added to your library.
Yeah,
Which
and it works the
I wish
same
they would.
way in reverse.
I wish they would fix that because it's kind of lame that it doesn't just pop up in your library. They obviously have the metadata showing that you already own it. So what gives?
Yeah,
This is
it
a
worked the exact same way in reverse though. Like I actually had to Google a list of games because I already had,
yeah, me too.
like 10 or so games on the Rift in the Rift S through the Oculus store. So I had to Google a list of games that were actually cross-buy. Will be like, oh, I own that one, and then go into the Oculus store on my phone and add it to my Quest library. You know?
Yeah, I don't know what website it was, but I found a really useful site that had like filtering features. So you could filter cross buy only games, then you could sort by popularity or alphabetically, and you could do some other stuff to help you out. Yeah, so I have the VR cover or no, I'm sorry, the facial interface from VR cover. I have it the dark blue one, and it's awesome. I It comes with a thinner and then a thicker padding, and I keep bouncing back and forth between the two. Um, and this is the thicker one here on all these pictures, I think. And the thinner one allows you to get a little bit closer to the lenses, which gives you a larger FOV. So that's cool. But I keep going back to the thicker of the two. See, I have it right here. I don't know if my chroma key will allow me to.
No, it's working. Well, sort of.
It's kind of working. Yeah, I'll get this fixed soon. I'm getting a real green screen. Anyway, the reason I went with the thicker of the two paddings is because I can get marks on my nose um, from somewhere in the headset. I'll get like little marks on my nose. So yes, the thinner one can get it closer to your face, but like at what cost? You're starting to get weird indentations on your nose when that's not necessary anymore, especially when you get a nice head strap.
So when you brought it over to my house and demoed the Quest to me, did you have the thinner headset or the thinner padding on? Because you had the VR cover already.
I don't remember.
I think you must have because my eyelashes touch the lenses sometimes.
Let
And
me
that's a problem. I bought a different head gasket for the HP Reverb G2
hold on
and
a second.
the same thing happened. I think I have long eyelashes or something.
Um, yeah, my they're not really touching. So I want to say that when you get yours, put the thicker of the two paddings on, and that you should be good to go. Because yes, my eyelashes also touch with the thinner one for sure, but it doesn't bug me. What bugs me is the indentation on my nose. Because in the future I might have like a deformed nose.
Yeah, they'll call it VR nose and it'll be an actual medical condition.
Now, are these magnets, or is
I
that
I don't know.
those aren't magnets because they're still
It should
the
be just
plastic
clip on,
clips
just
here.
like yeah, it should be just clip on, just like the OG piece that goes in.
That those metal studs must be something. Does mine have that? Let me look here. Mine doesn't have those. It
Huh.
has little pivot, like little bracket things, but that's for the Velcro. So it's probably the same purpose.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any magnetic functionality to this stuff in this headset. Okay. Boom. Okay. So moving on to our last
Mm.
page here is the head strap. Tell me about this
So
head strap.
this is kind of going to be an experiment almost, I think. I Here's the thing. So when you brought yours over, I could
Uh-huh.
not figure out how to get that head strap comfortable on my head. Now, obviously, once I got my own, it was easier, I guess, to like, actually mess with it and be like, okay, like I own this thing now, I can really mess with it and get it to fit to my head. And I actually think that they did a decent job on the default head strap that comes with the Quest. It's all right. It's thin, it works, it does the job. It's not the most comfortable, and there's definitely some things that could be added. Those things that could be added, I think, are fixed by this head strap right here. It looks like a crazy contraption, right? But I watched MRTV on YouTube. He has a review out for this headset or
Mm-hmm.
this head strap, and he said like it takes some finessing to get it right for your head shape, and it's not like a super easily shareable thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but once you do get it to your head shape, it fits like you're wearing like a hat. And I think the things that are really going to benefit from that are going to be like that. It has that lower back strap,
Yeah.
and that's going to take a lot of weight off, I think, because the Reverb G2 also has like a
This one
lower
here.
strap. Like, yeah, that right there. I think that's going to really, really help things. The other reason why I picked up this strap specifically is I already like for my audio solution, I didn't want to have to buy. I was afraid of like going with like the Bobo VR or something and having to buy those Mantis clip-on headphones that people suggest for like the PSVR. People use those on the Bobo from what I read, and I was afraid my Steel Series headphones, which or what I would like to use in VR, I was afraid they wouldn't fit over the Bobo. Because I mean, it is like a metal bracket actually connecting my headset together right above my ears, so it could like hit the plastic or something, and not
I
you
I mean
know.
I have the Bobo right here, and I don't have that problem with these cans.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I figured to skip all issues, I would try this one first and see how it worked. And if it works, um, then I'll keep it. If not, I may return it. I don't know. I don't know how the return policy is on something like that and wearing it, but so
So
see,
they've.
your headphones work, but I think they might have more flex in my Steel Series because right above the
Oh
actual
yeah.
can part, it's metal. So
Oh okay. Okay. That could be a major problem.
and it's thicker too. It's like a thicker metal piece.
Oh okay.
Oh,
Sorry, I thought you were saying that the Bobo head strap had metal
no,
pieces
no,
to it.
no, no,
Okay.
no, no. The Bobo should be fine. It was just for specifically using Steel Series Arctis Pros. I felt like this head strap might work better. So if it doesn't work out, if I can't get comfortable, I'll see what the return policy is on it. And if not, it was a $24 loss, so it's not too bad. It's kind of the cheapest of all the head straps you can get. So
Um, I already have to do a return on a head strap because I bought the Bobo battery pack head strap through Amazon, and they sent me the wrong one. They sent me the non-battery one, which I actually really like. So I bought another one, and then I kept this one for the time being, so I had one to use. But I'm gonna return it because they sent me the wrong thing. This one's actually cheaper. But I want to make a comparison video or like a review video of the head straps. I think that would perform really well.
um,
Um,
how long do you have to return that thing?
um, that's a good question. If you want to talk a little bit over this, I can look real
Well,
quick.
the whole reason I'm asking, so this head strap for me, the Quest 2, the VR cover head strap, it's supposed to arrive on Monday. If for some reason I absolutely hate it or something, maybe I'll just, buy your Bobo so I don't have to wait for shipping if I decide to order one, you know?
Well, the problem is that I paid for the battery Bobo, and they sent me the non-battery one. So
Uh,
they, yeah.
yeah, you might want to get that returned.
It says return eligible through January 31st. So if you want, we could hang out one of these days and
Just try it out and see if I like
yeah,
it.
try out all three, and then maybe maybe I could capture some B-roll of your head strap, and then I would basically have all of the assets that I need to make a review video
There you go.
of all three. So, okay, well, I think that brings us to the end of the show, unless you have any other uh, things to talk about. Let me just look at my notes
Mm,
real quick.
the
Oh,
only other thing I have in my notes I don't think we went over was the one game that I purchased on the Quest 2 store. I haven't purchased too many games. I think the only things I purchased are Resident Evil 4 VR and um, the Vader Immortal series because I already had the first one. It was like really cheap. Resident Evil 4 VR has to be one of the best VR adaptations of a non VR game I have ever played. Absolutely, like ever. It blows. Like Bethesda takes some notes here because Skyrim VR and Fallout 4 VR,
yeah.
they're great once you mod them, but but they did this right. Like it's absolutely fantastic. I think the only thing that kind of bothered me in the beginning, I've gotten used to it, is when
Wow,
you're
look
doing
look at this
certain
website. This is
pretty insane. Are
passing
you like
photos.
moving the mouse around right now?
This is very cool.
Um so
This
anyways,
is a really cool piece of marketing. I'm
when
listening, kinda.
when you're like moving stuff around, there's times where you move like furniture to block a window or something like that. It'll actually go into third person really quickly and then take you back into first person. Or when you're climbing a ladder, it does the same
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, I
I
heard about
wish they
that.
kind of did that in first person. That would be cool. Maybe they ran out of time, or maybe that wasn't in the budget. But everything else about this, especially if you're, I don't know that I would recommend it to maybe a non-Resident Evil fan. I'm not sure. I mean, if
It
probably I
sounds like you
would.
are though.
It's really really well done. I mean, think about it this way. I have played this game a lot of times in VR. You have trouble if you want to play a game sitting versus standing, right? Like I run into this issue when I want to play Skyrim sitting, and I had been playing it previously sitting, and if I don't have my controller plugged in at the time or something, I want to use a controller, then it's automatically going to detect the motion controls. I have to like restart the game, all that stuff, right? This game, literally, you can go right into the menu. I could be standing and be like, well, I don't want to stand anymore. Go sit down, change my play space to stationary, and then go into the menu in this game, just switch it to seated. And the way they set up the UI is so perfectly that like I was literally playing it while laying in my bed the other day, and it was working perfect. Like it was just easy. You could easily grab items, things on the floor. If you're playing in the seated mode, will actually float up to hand level, so you can grab them, like items and stuff like that. Like opening shelves that are maybe lower than your position. Your hands, like you'll just place them over where the shelf like handles would be, and when you pull the grip buttons, your hands just pop down there, and you open up the shelves and stuff. It's absolutely fantastic. Really, really great game. I've been really enjoying it, and there's so many settings in
When you
there.
say that
Like
you
there's
were laying
settings
in
for
your
everyone.
bed, were you facing the ceiling
Uh,
playing this game?
no, I didn't do that. I actually took like a pillow and flipped it vertical, and just sat up against it. I haven't tried that yet. I don't know if that would work or not.
Okay.
I'm not sure how Oculus's tracking and room setup
Yeah.
would like that.
There's an option in Virtual Console. I forget what the option's called exactly, but it's like enable any like raised view or something, and I wonder if that's what that can do. If it can let you play or watch videos like just looking up at the ceiling.
That would be an interesting experience. Something maybe I should try. I don't know, but no, I just played it sitting straight up. Um, so yeah, it's a $40 game, but me being a big Resident Evil fan, I was absolutely ready to eat that bullet. And I think that this is one of those killer apps. Like this is
Yes,
this
yeah.
is a system seller. Like if somebody would have taken me, like me having the Reverb G2, and actually kind of like being like, why is everyone so crazy about the Quest 2? If somebody would have taken a Quest 2 to me and been like, here, try this, and put on Resident Evil 4 VR, I would have went out and bought one right away. Like it's worth it's worth owning a Quest just to play this game in my mind right now. And I'm like, if they can do this, and Oculus, funds like this type of gaming stuff, like if they can do this, They can make a lot of really cool games, I'm sure. So and then they have. I mean, I'm not saying they haven't, but this one
Yeah.
just threw it over the top for me. And
Is
just a little
this
segue, uh, the Resident Evil VR mods, I can't remember who they are made by at the moment, but it includes Resident Evil 2, 3, 7, and 8 are now available on the PC. It launched yesterday or today. Um, and so
like
you can
Resident Evil
now,
2 remake, 3 remake?
yeah, you can play them. 2 and 3
Oh.
have full motion controls. 7 and 8 right now are you play with like a gamepad or a mouse and keyboard. But I believe they are working on motion controls for those as well. So, but 2 and 3 full motion controls on PC right now. Stream through virtual desktop or AirLink, whatever you use a link cable, I don't know, but you can play those now.
Hmm. That's awesome. I might have to get this game too, but I'll wait for a sale. Yeah, so we know that San Andreas is coming to Quest. I believe it's an exclusive.
hmm I
So
believe that's what I heard as well.
so what if instead of being like the trilogy, the definitive edition San Andreas, instead they treat it like they treated this.
I have high hopes. After playing this and this giving me just this amazing experience, I have very high hopes that if they treat San Andreas the same way they treated this, it's going to be absolutely fantastic.
Hmm. All right. Well, I think that's all we have. If you've made it this far in the video or the podcast, thank you for listening. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
Make sure to check out our YouTube channel if you want, Hats and Gloves VR. Um, Possibly subscribe if you want to, and maybe leave a like on a video. Also, if you want, you can leave a review for this podcast on Apple or Spotify or wherever else you might be listening to it on. And we would appreciate that a lot. Alrighty. Well, we will see you guys next week.
Later.